let's say everyone's healthy at this point, and I know Cameron Carter-Vickers would have been great to see another couple of games with him with the U.S. men's national team, because it's hard just to watch them at club and you don't get to see them with the group. I get that, but given everyone's healthy, who's 1 and 2, and let's say they have a bad game in the first game against Wales.
That can't happen, by the way. It gets back to what I said before, because we need that belief. We have to get that belief again, not only from the core group of the players and the coaches, but also all the fans back home, man. We just want to have that little bit of spark of belief. Go ahead.
What do you got? Who's your 4? And would you bring in somebody who's not there?
I would consider Tim Ream at this point. I know I've been harsh on him in the past, but if we feel like Wales is going to take notes from Japan, they're going to take notes from Saudi Arabia and sit back off of our center backs a little bit, then you might want to consider bringing in somebody that can pass a little bit better than our current options.
What about just dumping it and just getting guys high and then having
that? Well, yeah, that's another thing. But that plays into Greg's style, that he wants to high press, higher up the fields. But do we have the players that really want to do that? I don't look at Gio Reyna and look at him as somebody that likes to high press. I'll just say that Weston McKennie will do it, but I don't know if he really wants to do it. Pulisic will do it, but he's another one that, like, when I look at, I'll use this as a comparison. Brendan Aronson, that dude loves to press. That's why he leads the system under Jesse Marsch. Tyler Adams is the same. Those guys like to press. Those guys has energy to go win the ball. Those guys are hawks. When I look at McKennie, when I look at Pulisic, when I look at Reyna as examples, I don't see that same sense of urgency from them. Will they do it at times? Yes, but in that type of system, that type of pressing has to be consistent. Because if one person, you know this, Charlie, if one person isn't running with the same urgency and everything, it's the first domino that goes, and now everybody can be potentially caught out of the position because they're all trying to press in a certain way. So I do fear a little bit with the long ball and trying to win that second ball if not everybody's bought into that high pressing system. So if we are going to sit back a little bit, then I think Tim Ream is a good option. John Brooks for me is out of the picture. It feels personal. Yeah. That one's out. But Tim Ream is actually a player, and I've mentioned this before, that was kind of like Greg. Good pass of the ball, good understanding of how to play, good communicator, not very fast, not a great athlete. And I see Tim as that. But if we're going to sit back and need somebody to spray it, especially a natural, what I think's hurting us too, and against Saudi Arabia, you got Serginho Dest, a right footer playing left back. You got Aaron Long playing left center back, a right footer. Now, I played left center back for the national team when I had Eddie Pope or Gooch or whoever next to Jada Merritt next to me. And I had to be very good at going from left to right and hitting that switch like within a 0.2 seconds. I had to make that decision way before the ball got to me if I saw Cherundolo with a little bit of space. But I don't know if we have that or if we're thinking that, but it's better if you have a left-footed player. It's a little bit more deceptive if you can hit across your body that way. So Tim Ream for me it should be an option and should be part of the conversation because I think Wales could sit back, Charlie.
My brother is absolutely loving this. You can see him, JB Davies 16. He's been calling for Tim Ream to be included because he plays every week in the Premier League. That's his argument. How is he playing every week in the Premier League? I get your system and he's slow. Yeah, right. But if you drop deep and you want players to spray the ball
and play out of situations
and smart and someone who can like organize a team and also say, hey guys, stop this riffraff. We're going to play a certain way. That would be the guy that would make sense to be included. Now, you don't have to start him, but in terms of being one of the 26, he thinks that makes sense.
I agree. What I'll say is, and when you're asking me about the center backs overall, we need leadership from that position. And I'll give you an example. Aaron Long against Japan makes a mistake, makes a bad pass 30 seconds in. I watch Aaron Long. He's only worried about Aaron Long in that moment. He's not solving problems for the team anymore. He's only thinking about Aaron Long. And I get it, man. There's so much pressure. These guys I get it. I understand why that happens. But what we need is center backs that aren't just thinking about themselves. They have to think about the whole team. That's the position. They can see the whole field. It's super important. They have to lead. They have to put people in good spots, both with or without the ball. They have to put out fires before they start. I think for us as the center backs, once the game opens up, can you get the ball to the playmakers? Because you don't need to make the game. What you need to do is get the ball to the players that do make the game and give them a little bit more time on it. When you look at that Japan game, Japan was baiting us to play those tough balls into our playmakers who had people right up their ass. Like, it's impossible for them to do what they want. Pulisic can't turn every single time. Every once in a while, sure.
And the weight of the pass was usually way off.
Oh, dude.
It was too soft or rocket into him.
It was crazy. It was crazy. And I know the field was a little bit spicy or whatever, but Japan had to play on the same field. So I don't really use that as an excuse. So that's what I would be looking for. And Tim Ream brings that as well. He brings some leadership. He brings some calm. And I think he's got enough experience where if everything's on fire, he can still like, okay, we're going to solve this. And I think Walker has that as well. And he's going to need to have it. And Walker has that maybe more than the others. If Chris Richards makes a mistake in a game, I don't know what he's about enough to know. Is he going to be in his own feelings? Is he only worried about his stuff at that point? Like when the World Cup, what I loved about playing in the World Cup, Chuck, is that you didn't have time to worry about what just happened because the next play is right there. It's 1,000 miles an hour, and you only have to think in that moment and maybe the moment of next. You have to anticipate what's going to happen next.
Do you see a lot of Walker Zimmerman in you?
Yeah, there's a little bit. I think I might have a soft spot for him. And not only because we have similar playing styles in some ways, and I don't know, I haven't played next to him, so I can't really speak to his leadership. I'm just assuming that happens, but you can see that there's a respect there, and Greg wouldn't give him the captain's armband otherwise. And you can see the players listen to him, which is important. But because of his age, this is his last go to make the World Cup team. He's not going to make it in 26 at 33 years old. I was similar. I played in the World Cup at 29. I knew that was probably going to be my best chance to make it happen, and I made it work. And I got to hold my own against some of the world's best players, which is a huge, huge thing for me. We didn't do much as a team, but I was excited that I got that opportunity and prove myself. I can see a lot of that in him, some urgency of like, this is my last chance to do that. So I relate to him a little bit there. Now, Tim Ream is 34. That's no spring chicken over there, Charlie. But that's what I would be looking for in the center backs. When you say 1 and 2, I think number 2 could be situational. If Walker's our number 1, even if you went with Walker and Ream, there's some kind of comfort level there. I don't know how comfortable you would be with Zimmerman and Ream, but I'm kind of curious your thoughts. And anybody else listening, if you want to hit us up at ISWTpod on Twitter or right now in the comments, do it.
I wouldn't be comfortable because
the
because the way Walker plays, he dives in. He goes for challenges and you know, in a lot of cases it's almost 50-50. You bet on yourself, but in a World Cup, it's easy to get turned. Much easier to get turned. And when he is out of position, I don't have confidence in Tim Ream to cover the when teams try to exploit that space. I don't think he has enough pace to get there. That's if you play the high pressing style, which is what Greg wants from his players. So you're not helping Tim Ream in that instance at all, especially when you're sending Anthony Robinson all the way to hell up the touchline because Christian Pulisic comes inside. So now you're getting your width from your left back. And Anthony Robinson stays high. So now you're asking Tim Ream not only to cover the space in behind Walker Zimmerman when he goes up, but also to get to the touchline. We've already had that experiment with him and John Anthony Brooks. It's a no-go. You are not putting your team in a position to win games if you're allowing a left center back like Tim Ream playing so high up the field to cover one area and another area.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, though, about his – I mean, he's already obviously has rapport and an understanding of Anthony Robinson. I think that gives him an advantage as well.
I mean, it's like really evident. And you're talking about Wales, Daniel James. You're talking about England, go down the list. Rashford, Sancho, Raheem Sterling. I mean, just pace. You were Rashford, Sterling. I mean, it's just too many players who will absolutely eat you up. You give them that much time and space on the touchline. So for Saka, I mean, it's just they have loads and loads and loads of wingers with pace who are amazing at 1v1.
But with Tim Ream, he's already had to deal with that in the Premier League.
Yeah, when he has
next to Anthony Robinson,
when he only has 12 feet behind him from him in the goal.
I get that. I get that.
On top of him.
No. I understand there's some limitations with Tim, and when he gets isolated 1v1, even so far in the Premier League, which hasn't happened much, but the guys do get a little bit of space to necessarily do exactly what they want, but they get that chance to get across, or they get a chance to get a shot off, or whatever.
I see Jason Peters' comment. Sancho's not that fast. I'll take Sancho in a foot race with John Anthony Brooks and Tim Ream all day.
So anyway, I think Tim Ream should be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So I guess what you're saying is you take either Tim Ream or Walker Zimmerman, and then you want an athlete next to him. And if and in your mind, Chris Richards would be that athlete. So you would take Richards and Ream?
I will take Richards.
You'd start them against Wales.
No, Richards and Zimmerman. I'm still.
Okay. So who plays the left center back position then? Is it Zimmerman or Richards? They're both right
Well,
footers.
Chris Richards has played there in the Bundesliga. He's played
That's
there
true. On the left side of a three. He's played on the left side of a three.
Yes.
Yeah,
so he would be mighty comfortable playing in that position. And again, the only way Tim Ream plays is if we're going to play that way against Japan. And that was because our center backs dropped so deep, which takes away Matt Turner. If you have a goalkeeper who's supposed to be good with their feet, you're absolutely taking them away when you're sitting your center backs on either side of them in the 18-yard box. It's pointless to have a goalkeeper with feet at that point. So only if you're going to sit back and drop and defend with no space in behind you, then Tim Ream should be in the team. But that's not how we're going to play. So it doesn't make sense.
I know it's a bit moot, but I also, man, I want to bring in the fact that there's a level of trust, because when I think about Aaron Long, he made that mistake and he made a couple bad passes. And I look at right when that happens, I actually look at the rest of the team. I look to see what their body language is. And a lot of it was heads down. Like it's almost like they expected him to make a mistake or disappointed that we can't like connect passes. You can see their frustration level go. And I wonder if an Aaron Long wasn't starting and a Tim Ream was, what kind of trust the rest of the group would have in that particular player in that area of the field. That's just something that we don't need to answer now, everybody. But I just want you to know that that's something that I think that Greg Berhalter needs to take into consideration when making these decisions.